vote on welfare cuts. The Times, UK to match China and Russia with nuclear jets. The Guardian, Britain to buy US jets capable of carrying nuclear weapons. The Eye also have this story as well. UK buys jets with nuclear weapons to create a deterrent from air and sea. I suppose we'll come on to that, but, what does that really mean? Are we returning to the Cold War? Are we ever going to use them? What's the point, some would say? Let's get thoughts now of my wonderful panel. Former Tory MP Jonathan Gullis, we've got GB News contributor and comedian Stephen Allen, and former Labour advisor Matthew Torbett. Let's start with the front page of the Daily Mail. So they go with the fact that Keir Starmer could basically be facing down a whopping great big rebellion over benefits cuts, welfare cuts, and that Labour MPs seem absolutely prepared to vote against him, 123 of them at least. I mean, he's in the toilet. Surely this could lead to some kind of general election confidence vote, could it not?
I mean, it could. To call it like we're on the watch, or on the lookout already, is a little bit like those shops that announce Christmas at the end of September.
Oh,
There's a bit of lead time anyway. But I think you're right that he's managed to create, sorry to get nerdy, a Kobayashi Maru. It's a no-win. I've gone Star Trek on you. It's because you would have thought Star Wars because of all the rebels, but I'm not predictable. He's managed to create a situation where there's no win, is there? Of all the different possible outcomes. I mean, if the long shot he could lose this vote, it'd be terrible. He won't lose it. He might manage to win it with the aid of the Tories. Well, that's embarrassing. Plus, also, Kemi Badenoch was offered these votes with a couple of conditions. And the conditions are, sorry to go back to Star Wars, Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. Because one of them is promised not to increase tax. Well, look, you've created a rod that they'll be beaten with if ever they have to increase it. So it's an absolute mess. Why did Labour manage to do so well at creating these situations where they could have made a tweak earlier, but they like to do the opposite of a Corbyn. They like to win the election but lose the argument.
Well, it's not just the Daily, it's not just the Daily Mail that are leading with this, because on the GB News website we've also got this story there. You can see it at the moment. Humiliating threat to Starmer's authority. And Jonathan, you got a bit of inside information on this. So this is about the welfare cuts, and Labour whips are telling their MPs that this is a confidence vote.
It's crazy. They've gone from it's a confidence vote to which Number 10 has had to then say, well, Keir Starmer directly has had to say, it's not. Some have been told if you force this bill down, it'll force a general election. And those MPs laughed in those whips' faces, saying, have you seen the polls recently? And then others are being told, well, it won't help you on the career ladder, to which they've said, well, there's 400 of us. And then looking at those who are currently in government, it's not a job I look like I fancy very much, because it looks like you're onto a hiding to nothing. So it's farcical. It is Liz Truss with the fracking vote all over again. And we saw where that led us to, having, survived that time just about during my tenure as a Member of Parliament. So for me, it is the beginning of the end, because once you pull that card out and start playing it with MPs, you can't then put it back in and then play again at a future date. It will just be now ridiculed. And I think Matthew's probably got the same kind of conversation with other Labour MPs who are thinking, Keir's on the clock. Well,
let's see this. So Matthew, former Labour Party advisor, presumably you're still quite plugged in with the Labour Party there. What do they make of this? Is this existential for Sir Keir, do you think?
Yeah, but he's brought it on himself. I have very little sympathy for this. I think only this Labour Party, led by this Labour Prime Minister, with the galaxy brains behind him, could embolden and actually empower the pathetic excuse of a Tory leader at the moment who makes the Tory party less relevant by the day. Totally serves them right. This is what happens when you treat MPs like crap, to put it bluntly, and expect them just to go out as fodder for you and take the hit and go out into the supermarkets in their constituencies and get abused because all you've done is pass unpopular legislation that was never in your manifesto. This is what happens when you push your child poverty strategy down the road and keep kicking it down whilst trying to aim to pass legislation that will put 700,000 people into poverty.
Just to explain why this is, in your view, bad legislation, because a lot of our viewers and listeners, frankly, are of the view, as am I, that we've got a load of people in Britain who are on the take, that we need to slash this welfare bill, we need to get people off benefits and into work. So why is this not the answer to that?
Because part of it, I thought, was good. The right to try, where people can go into work, and it's not always that easy for some people who may have been off work for a long time, can go in, try it, they're not going to get the benefits taken away at first, and if they make that step in, good. But then you come down on people being assessed who can't cook or wash or dress themselves in the morning, being either forced into work that they're unable to do or having their benefits cut. I am of the view, as are many Labour MPs and people within the Labour Party, that you look after the most vulnerable in society. Those on the take, totally minority, get it, cost us a load of money. If you can't dress yourself or wash yourself, that isn't the sort of person that should be forced to be in work because the Treasury says the sums don't add up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the idea that we're less than a year in, are we now? Still just about less than a year in, aren't we? Yes. To Labour government, stonking great majority. And who would have thought that Sir Keir Starmer, Labour Prime Minister, would be elected to plunge people into poverty?
Yeah, that's true. And it should have mentioned it early doors. You know, you should have put it in the manifesto if that's what you wanted people to vote for, because he actually would have won it anyway. No, he could have put all this stuff in the manifesto and still won, because it was more of a loss for the Conservatives. He actually sort of seen this coming and gone like, I'm going to be terrible, I'm going to be awful, I'm going to be naughty, and then wins it and goes, well, I did warn you. Do you know what I mean?
But they never saw it coming, Steve. This is the problem. The Chief of Staff had a plan to win the election, has never, ever, and anyone that meets him will tell you this, has never had a plan to govern. You've had 14 years. Yeah. You've had 2 failed leadership bids. You had Liz Kendall as a first go, and then you've had Keir Starmer. You've had a whole 5 years leading up to it, and got sacked and then brought back. Yeah. Do you not? But then this is what you expect.
But why can't Keir Starmer, call me radical here, Matthew, but why can't Keir Starmer almost lead by himself? You know, if you've got a vision or a genuine conviction or an ideology, you don't need some numpty behind you making mistakes.
But that's where you've hit the nail on the head. He doesn't have a political vision, he doesn't have politics, he doesn't have an ideology. And unfortunately, this is a man who is essentially the old horse being led to water because he doesn't know how to drink. This is where we are. This is literally.
Well, if he keeps up with that, he's going to have his own benefits cut, isn't he?
He'll have to be assessed first, though.
He's got to be assessed first,
It's more about bad execution, though, isn't it? You can find a good idea in every single policy that's gone terrible. Like, of course, millionaire pensioners shouldn't be given some fuel allowance, but don't make the cut-off point 12 grand or whatever.
I think
every idea is...
I think quickly with the other thing as well is the problem with what the cuts that are being proposed is they disproportionately focus on those with physical conditions, some of those being people receiving cancer treatment, those with cardiovascular. There are 736,000 people with mild anxiety, depression and ADHD. Now, with the greatest respect, if you provided them talking therapies rather than cash, that would be a better use and could produce a much actually bigger saving than what's being produced. And I think the public and even Labour MPs could get on board with that.
Well, watch this space. I think there's going to be a vote in the Commons tomorrow, isn't there?
Next week.
Next week, sorry, there's going to be a vote, and it looks like...
Kemi will put the deal to him probably at PMQs tomorrow, and let's see if he takes it or not.
Right, OK, good. Let's go to the Daily Express, because both the Express and the Sun are carrying the same story, which is about these illegal migrant delivery drivers. They're saying it's a farce on the Express, and they're putting pressure on the government to act because companies like Deliveroo, companies like Just Eat are basically employing illegal migrants when they have just landed in Britain to illegally deliver takeaways. There's a huge security risk here. They're knocking on people's doors. You know, someone's, you can see it now, can't you? A young 18-year-old girl orders a pizza or something like that, and then, some bloke turns up and knows where she lives, and that bloke has ill intent. It's not safe. It's not right. But Chris Philp, as the Shadow Home Secretary, is really forming the basis of the article in the Daily Telegraph tomorrow. He says it's time to shut this racket down. And I think I might have a clip of Philp.
Asylum hotel, and people he said arrived on small boats are now staying there. And he also said he's seen lots of the residents of the hotel doing work on Uber Eats, on Deliveroo.
I think Chris is a character. I'm sure he's working hard in his brief. That's how I'm going to go with Matthew. Sorry, I'm Patrick. I will say this. Number one, scoop up all the bikes and put them in the skip.
Yeah.
It's not hard to know that people are using them inappropriately. But actually what really grinds my gears, and this is actually, maybe I've been around Matthew too much, this is corporatism at its worst. We've got major companies making big money, and yet they're clearly not doing the relevant security checks. And where are the government levying the fines on these companies? They're happy to say in press releases, we're going after companies employing people illegally. And when they do those raids with the videos, they seem to be going into your small, medium-sized businesses, rightly so. But Deliveroo, Just Eat, they seem to somehow not avoid that kind of action. Why is it that we're not seeing police kick down the doors and aren't demanding papers of their employees to put the fear of God into their directors? And why are we not seeing huge fines levied against them? Because ultimately, they're helping fuel the black market.
Yeah, they are, but Steve, we're going to be confronted by something interesting here in Britain, aren't we? Which is, are we willing to forego quick and easy Thai takeaways for the sake of of dealing with illegal immigration.
Yeah, and it's the cheapness as well, like the delivery costs £1.40 or something to have food. Part of this is a bit post-COVID as well. So we got so used to having people bring food to us, and since then we've not given up. I think it shows how idle we are. If there was a service where you could pay 40p extra and they bring it into your house and like move your jaw up and down for you, so you don't burn any calories while you fill your face, we'd probably pick that. There's a whiff of that idleness to it. But you're right, it's cheap, it's available. This has been the problem with one of the effects of migration anyway, isn't it? That these could be jobs, and yes, you'd have to pay a bit more to get your food to your face.
Yeah.
But these could be jobs that people could do. This should be proper economy jobs. So I disagree with scrapping the bikes. The bikes should be used by people actually properly employed.
Yeah, they need to get a grip of this, don't they? I mean, we did a little expose, by the way, at the top of my 10 p.m. hour, where I got in touch with the human traffickers and then asked them if they could sort me out with a job here in Britain once they brought me to Britain, and they said yes, then gave me a load of numbers, and then before you know it, I'm on a WhatsApp call with a man whose profile picture is Saddam Hussein, telling me that he's got a job for me delivering stuff for him in London. So it's easily done.
And in media, it's good to have something to fall back on.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, because you never know, do you? Matthew, I mean, this is... how do they sort this? How do they fix it? Go on, sort it for us. I
don't think the individual is the problem. I think if you're waiting for an asylum claim, whether you rightfully are an asylum seeker or not, you get £5 a week. It's not a great deal of money. The problem is the companies, similar to what Jonathan said. The companies know this is going on. You can go home tonight, as I've seen lots of people do, and type into your Facebook search bar, Deliveroo profile, Uber Eats profile. We all know this is happening. How the government don't know, or they're choosing to ignore it till now, don't know it's the problem. They should be levying big fines against the companies. And also, if Whitehall is not going to allow changes to international law legislation, you either are going to have this sort of black market or let people work whilst they're waiting for their asylum
Some
claim.
companies that just seem to get away with stuff. Like, if you own a water company, you can pump poo into the river.
Yeah.
And no one... Like, people do bat an eyelid, but no one actually does anything about it. You don't really get fined by that. You know, if you own a delivery company, you can employ, like, thousands of illegal immigrants. No one seems to say anything to you.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I put 1 0 wrong on my tax return, you know, I'm getting a knock on my door, aren't I?
Is that when you've got 6 or 7 zeros already?
All right.
With the water situation, when the water companies put poo in our rivers, they get away with it. When I do it once, I get banned from that.
Exactly.
And it's not fair.
You were really unlucky that guy was there to film that. Really unlucky, because you could have got away with it.
Misunderstood poo sticks.
Absolutely, yeah, but he still won. Anyway, right, coming up, on that note, are we on the brink of nuclear war? Plus...
Don't know what the they're doing.
It's on the front of a few of the national newspapers. But seriously, apparently Britain is buying jets with nuclear warheads on them. What does that really mean? Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
On this day, 4 years ago, GB News was born, launching our first live broadcast on June 13th, 2021. Let's take a look back at some of our earlier memories.
If you've just switched on, a very warm welcome to you. I am Alistair Stewart, and until 3 p.m. this afternoon, I'll be keeping you company, along with friends and, I hope, friendly guests. I hope you'd agree that we've had a strong hour of debate and discussion so far, but there's lots more still to come. GB News is all about you, our viewers. Any burning questions or stories that you think we need to cover, no matter how big or small, we really do want to hear from you.
Well, we can now speak with former GB News presenter Alistair Stewart. Alistair, thank you so much for joining me. Thinking back to 4 years ago, what did you think the channel's prospects were? Did you think it would be a success?
I did. Thank you so much for having me on, and a very happy birthday to you, one of the many brilliant faces, as we call it in the trade, presenting programmes, but also to the absolutely wonderful team of technicians that you've got behind you, making sure that this all gets on air very smoothly. And we've not only hung on in there, but we've now got GB News Radio as well. Online, we're huge. We get quite good numbers on viewing, very, very good numbers on listening, well ahead some of the other competitors. I do remember when Murdoch launched Talk, there were quite a few people in the newsroom who were nervous, not because they were so good, but because Murdoch had so much more money than we did. We've seen them off. They're virtually dead in the water now, and we are thriving, celebrating 4 years of triumphal and brilliant journalism.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight Late Edition. Now, on several of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, it's British jets to carry nuclear warheads. It's also Trump and Iran and Israel and all of that. So we broke the news last night that Israel and Iran reached a ceasefire, but literally seconds later, that didn't happen again. So missiles were exchanged between the two countries, and goodness me, it wound the president up.
Don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah. So President Trump's fury seems to have worked. And today, there have been no further missiles that we're aware of. And apparently some sort of normality is coming back between the two nations, though. Has it ever really been that normal? But anyway, Trump arriving in the Netherlands for the NATO summit. What should we expect from any more outbursts, do we think? I'm joined now by Jacob Aldors, who's a former White House advisor to Mike Pence. Jacob, thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. So tomorrow's front pages here in Britain are Trump drops F-bomb, Trump's fury at Iran and Israel over fragile ceasefire. But there's also some stuff that Mark Rutte, the totally normal head of NATO, has praised him and said he's actually done really well. He's a great guy. So, you know, is this Trump diplomacy Nobel Peace Prize incoming, do we think, Jacob?
Well, I would certainly argue it is. I mean, and, you know, obviously you have the first record of the Trump administration, the Abraham Accords. The president has established himself as a peacemaker. And of course, he's preferred the peaceful diplomatic solution to Iran's nuclear program as well. You know, the U.S. went in to eliminate the nuclear enrichment capacity at those sites. But ultimately, that remains the priority today. And I think it's integral to resolving other world conflicts as well. And of course, that's where tomorrow's summit comes in as well. So, which this will be obviously on the margin of.
Well, so this is we're looking. I mean, we're already doing tomorrow's front pages, but realistically, let's do the next days instead. So whatever happens at this summit is going to be leading the news agenda tomorrow and into the day after. So what is going to happen, please, Jacob?
Well, I think the NATO summit will focus really on the president's rightful emphasis on NATO members raising their commitment to the percentage of the GDP to 5%. I think that's with reference to the threat environment today, and the recognition that all NATO members need to step up, not only in their percent GDP contributions, but really the capacity to actually fight and defend themselves, which has been lacking, obviously, for a long time. I remind folks that, you know, we know Article 5 of NATO, attack on one is an attack on all, but there's also Article 3, that each nation shall independently and jointly have the capacity to resist attacks. And that, I think, speaks to that.
Yeah, and I think Trump has got a point. I mean, over here at the moment, our government is trying to fudge the defence numbers by including things like rural broadband internet and road building in national defence. I mean, if you could literally include anything in it by that logic, couldn't you? So presumably President Trump's not happy about that.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, and I think, you know, the 2022 strategy document of NATO calls for climate change, for this being the vehicle, the primary vehicle for climate change. And I quote in that document. So completely misaligned priorities and mission, absolutely.
Well, Jacob, look, thank you very, very much. Always tremendous to get you on. I do appreciate it. Jacob Oldort there, who's a former White House advisor to Mike Pence. Let's go and focus on the front of the Daily Telegraph here. They've got British jets to carry nuclear warheads, right? Return to Cold War era as defence strategy warns we must prepare for a threat to the UK. I'll just give you a little bit more detail on this. So apparently a major NATO summit in The Hague today, which is tomorrow at the moment, the Prime Minister will announce that Britain will purchase 12 F-35A fighter planes. These can carry nuclear weapons. The Prime Minister is warning that we must basically prepare for war. So that's good, isn't it?
Well, do you know what? I mean, half of it is good, not this kind of war, but I hate to say this because it's not my natural way of doing things, Trump's right. I mean, like, Europe definitely should be doing its own defence because the ridiculous system where we rely on America is clearly flawed because we don't get to vote for who's in charge of there. So we're at the whims of some other voters who could impact our defence. Yes, we should be spending more. Yeah, the 5% would be good if 1.5 of it didn't include updating the motorway services. But, you know, the Watford Gap needs to be hand-raised.
That's true. Sorry, that's true, though, isn't it? So, seriously, it could include things like the Watford Gap.
Because, you know, you might need to drive a missile up the country, so the motorways are included in this. It's right. Of course, they've got to stop for lunch, so the Watford Gap services are in it. But apparently these planes can't carry particularly heavy... This is nuclear war anyway we're talking about, which is never going to happen. All that's going to happen is that these planes carrying the nukes will be the latest thing to be spray-painted by some pro-Palestinian government when they get in there and do another... It feels even worse, though. We've made this situation worse.
Yeah, Jonathan, so... This constant psychological warfare that we seem to be... Are we going to get conscription? Is there going to be World War III? We must prepare for a threat to the UK. We're going to have planes with nukes flying above us. Why are we doing this?
Look, this is the classic press release for Number 10 when they've gone, we need to fill the grid. And what the grid's going to contain? We're going to announce buying 12 fighter jets to show we're really hard and really tough. And on the hope that the public will go, oh, there's the guys I've been waiting to vote for. Look, Keir Starmer is so desperate to be abroad in his safe space where he gets to have his pre-scripted lunches and dinners, although he doesn't seem to understand when Donald Trump does or does not want to drop a bomb on Iran. And he wants to go around and shake hands with President Macron and look like the bros that he's always desperately wanted to be. Then he comes back home and realises, oh, voters are going to judge me on what's happening at home, and my MPs are rebelling, and Rachel Reeves is killing the economy, and Bridget Phillipson seems to think that we should not let head teachers choose how to run their schools. I mean, this is the nuttiness that's going on, and like it's a classic thing. Boris did it with Ukraine. Yeah, Rishi was jet-setting all over the place. It becomes a safe place to be on the plane, to have the red carpet rolled out, to get your photos with world leaders, so you've got your photo album for your grandkids in the future, to go, I was once somebody.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew, this is... Apparently, so an RAF source has told The Telegraph, our enemies should be a little bit more scared to see us getting tactical nuclear weapons that can be dropped on advancing troops. The problem is that our enemies know that our Attorney-General is a chap called Lord Hermer, and he would probably think it's illegal to ever use those weapons, wouldn't he?
I suppose it depends. Depends. You know, I'm really struggling with it.
Come on, Matthew, you can do it.
Come on, make the case.
I think there
Ofcom depends on it.
Yes, quite. wrong person, I'm telling you. No, I think there is an element of grid filling, as Gullis has outlined. It worries me a little bit on a broader point because we've had a lot of cyber hacks in this country recently, and I'm beginning to wonder, if I read between the lines, whether they are preparing us for something because the Secret Services know something we don't is potentially coming down the line, which is totally terrifying when people are getting ready to go to bed or potentially having their breakfast this morning.
Yeah, you rest easy, nation.
Part of this is you know, showing off your manhood, this is what we've got. I don't think we've got to worry about people potentially being at war with us. What we have to worry about is the fact that we can't differentiate who's coming into the country at the moment across the channel, and therefore if someone has nefarious aims, it's more likely going to
By the way, that's now also part of the defence budget as well.
What?
Well, small boats is now going also into the defence budget, as well as energy security apparently is also being looked at. So all the net zero stuff will also count, because obviously that is security for the nation.
But in fairness, if you're going to try and take a country down, you take down its energy supply, you take down its food.
But it's not defence spending, is it? It's not defence spending.
I don't know, you could call
energy. It is a separate department.
What do you call it? You call it preemptive sort of thing. That's what I can only... I'm not across the detail of it.
No, I mean, that's what they are doing, because they don't want to spend more money on actual defence, but it just seems a bit bizarre. But talking to your point earlier on, we have got an absolutely phenomenal story coming your way, because we don't just do the front page of the national newspapers here. We like to go local.
Yes.
And this time it takes us to Lancashire, because a Blackburn man has been jailed for taking bribes to get migrant asylum claims, to grant their claims, right? Plus, there's also a story about a £60,000 ninja sword, but that's the big one I'm worried about. A bloke who worked for the Home Office has been taking bribes to allow illegal migrants to stay in Britain. And I'm not being funny, I don't reckon he's the only one, do you? Stay tuned.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Quite a grey start for many tomorrow, but overall a dry and a bright day. I think we'll see some sunny spells coming through. The likelihood, though, of some big showers later tomorrow. Back to this evening, though, and these weather fronts are dangling across the UK. This cold front is slipping southwards. To the south of it, still pretty warm and humid. Still some rain and drizzle, too, over parts of Wales and northwest England. The odd shower in western Scotland, but for most here, much of Northern Ireland, most of the night will be dry. Dry, too, across southern and eastern parts of England. That's where we'll see the higher temperatures, though, through the night. Parts of South Wales as well, also holding up at those temperatures in the mid-teens. Quite a damp start, though, for mid and South Wales tomorrow. Rain and drizzle on and off here. There will be a few showers pushing into western Scotland, but much of northeast Scotland starting dry and fine with light winds and maybe even a bit of sunshine coming through. The odd shower too for Northern Ireland, but again, most places here starting dry. There's that dull and damp weather across the west and south coast of Wales. A little bit of light rain and drizzle possible over the Midlands also. To the south of it, mostly fine, but again, quite a cloudy old start to the day. Should get a bit brighter as the day goes on for most places. Certainly a much brighter, drier day for northwest England compared to today, and southwest Scotland too. And any showers in western Scotland tending to fade away. That rain and drizzle easing off across Wales and the Midlands. Maybe a little bit getting into northern parts of Devon and Cornwall. A warm and humid day across the southeast, with temperatures here getting into the high 20s possibly. And then that heat and humidity may spark some thundery showers, initially coming up across the southwest, but the potential for some pretty lively, pretty nasty downpours across the southeast and East Anglia. Lots of flashes of lightning along with some heavy rain, and we'll see a spell of rain working in from the west at the same time, turning things a bit fresher for many of us, with some sunny spells by Thursday afternoon.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight Late Edition. Now, I'm about to show you a front page that you will not see in any other newspaper review show this evening, because we've unearthed it from Lancashire. It's the Lancashire Telegraph, OK? It's a big one, this. The Home Office worker who took a bribe to grant man asylum. A Blackburn man has been jailed over abuse of his immigration role. I'll give you a bit of detail on this. He's a chap called Imran Muller. He's 39, from Blackburn, and he worked in the asylum team. And he manipulated the system to overturn a refused asylum claim. So what happened was he realised that a bloke's asylum claim was going to be rejected. He called the man directly. So straight off the bat there, we've got a breach of GDPR, which is, of course, the main crime here. And then said he could fix it for him if he gave him £2,000, which the bloke then did. Yeah, I mean, there's quite. It shows that there's been quite a lot of this going on. But yeah, Steve, you've had a look at some of the details.
Oh, there's a lovely line lower in the story that says, "But he completed his security training." Then how did this happen? He'd filled in a form online. What more do they need to do to try and add levels of security? Yeah, I mean, it's shocking and also not shocking, isn't it? There's not a line in that entire story where you go, "What?" Yeah, of course.
I'm convinced this is going on quite regularly.
I think we've all been convinced for a long time it's going on. I mean, what I'm concerned about is he's only got 4.5 years. I mean, surely he's akin to a smuggler by essentially allowing people to come here even if their claims aren't valid. And actually, apparently he was receiving money while still under investigation by the police. So the people he had approved and helped were still paying him whilst he was being investigated.
You're going to be like, no, please, just stop sending me the money. Stop, they're monitoring everything now.
It's just absolutely crazy. But you know what, though? When we have something serious like the grooming gangs, the rape gangs, let's be honest what they are, and we know that there's been wild-scale cover-up within the establishment, it's no wonder, is it, when you see then this going on and the Home Office. And they should be reviewing all the caseworkers to see the decisions that are being made, to understand if there is irregularity. And 4.5 years is utterly pathetic. If we're saying we're putting smugglers in for life, he's basically aiding and abetting smugglers, so he should face the seriousness of the consequences.
Matthew, I mean, the front line, the top line, from the Lancashire Telegraph, a Blackburn Home Office worker who abused his position to grant asylum applications for money has been jailed. And, you know, I mean, it's a mockery, isn't it, really, of what's going on there?
Yes, it's bad, and it's greed, clearly, or whatever else. I think it definitely happens. I had a mate I went to school with contact me last year asking for help because he was in receipt of PIP, all of a sudden hadn't received his money. Turned out there was a bit of a ring at a DWP office in Manchester where they were emptying people's bank accounts that were being paid PIP. So I think there's potentially, if it's like that, an organised crime. No, but they were just at the bottom of the pyramid. So there's an organised crime element of this where they're preying potentially on vulnerable people. The other question I have that isn't in the story, what happens to the people he has rubber stamped? Because in a way, I feel a bit awful for them. They've got their wish granted.
I don't feel awful.
Oh, no, you know what? I forgot they paid for it for a minute. I retract that. I forgot they paid for it. They knew what they were doing. Sorry.
They should be the first on the deportation flight. Their money's bought them the first flight.
Jonathan's going to train as a pilot, right? And he's going to end up...
The point still stands. No, I've just realised what I've just said.
I get what you mean.
What does happen to them? Are they now deported? Are they now trusted to be...
Probably not, because they'll go...
Lord Herman will say their status is now their citizen.
But that is a very real prospect on international law.
There's a shrine to Imran Mullah in all of their houses. Thank you very much, Imran.
This story reads like, you know, when he was arrested and they'd say you get one phone call. I bet that was to someone else who'd had their claim turned down. I can make some more out of this. Hi, are you looking... Have you had your asylum claim turned down and it wasn't your fault?
I've got to say, you do wonder, is he... Obviously, he was getting money whilst he's being investigated. I wonder if there's still payments going in whilst he's in prison. I mean, who knows?
I mean, honestly, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And
it's embarrassing, isn't it?
Begs the question, how often is this stuff happening, really? Let's whiz ourselves to the Guardian newspaper now. Palestine Action. Oh, this is an interesting development, OK. So, Palestine Action, we all know them. They were on the streets the other day, weren't they? And they were firing red paint at RAF Bryce Norton. Well, here's the latest development today. Turns out the Home Office thinks they might be funded by Iran. Well, I tell you, blow me down. Really, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, announced plans on Monday to ban that protest group, and they have obviously taken direct action in numerous different cases. A Palestine Action spokesperson said, this is a baseless investigation and ridiculous investigation. We're funded by ordinary people who support us, which is, of course, what someone who was funded by Iran would say, Stephen.
Ordinary people, like this woman who I think Toller is a surname. I think they're what are some of the people on the little PayPal? That's probably the name that comes up. No, I think actually it's worth doing the investigation. The details of the story are that actually at the moment it's just accusations. So what you need is to follow up, because you're right. It's a question that needs answering. I kind of think, you know what, I'm all in favour of people doing protests, and I disagree with what the last government did in terms of curtailing right to protest. Because as soon as you lose that, when you want to complain about the next thing they take, what are you going to do? You can't protest. But a protest should never involve breaking into anything, let alone a military base. I think as soon as you do that, you're the baddies.
Yeah.
And therefore, maybe you do get prescribed if you are attacking the military bases in the UK.
Well, can I tell you, and I'll put this to you, Matthew, a couple of people who don't think that Palestine Action should be prescribed. One of them is the suspended Labour MP, I think, is that right, Zora Sultana? Who was, is that the word, suspended?
Yeah.
She's independent now. She says, we are all Palestine Action.
I'm not.
No,
to make it clear, I'm not.
Don't think we are. No. Anyway, but here comes Clive Lewis.
The Home Secretary should be very careful about what she does today. I mean, she's made the commitment. She's going to make the statement in Parliament. I think, sometimes you to put your hand up and say you might have got this wrong. I don't know who's advising her. I'd love to know who's advising her, but unfortunately, it feels to me this is very short-sighted.
Labour MP refused to take an oath to the King or swear allegiance to the King, was in the military but now doesn't seem to mind about military planes getting attacked. And crucially, he's a Labour MP, Matthew.
I have concerns about this, I must admit. I think from a freedom of speech point of view, just because a group, we don't agree with a group doesn't mean you prescribe them. I don't necessarily believe the government. If we are concerned they're funded by Iran, why didn't we prescribe them years ago? I wonder whether it is a bit of a deflection tactic. And yes, what they did with the military is absolutely stupid, and they should totally be jailed and whatever else. My concern with prescribing is we don't prescribe the IRGC in Iran, who are a terrorist group and a part of a proxy, but we'll prescribe Palestinian Action as a knee-jerk reaction to internet outrage. I'd be surprised if they're funded by Iran. These groups tend to be, middle-class poshos with a few quid, and that's sort of it. I think it was internet outrage reaction by the government. But I worry about the precedent we set for going, well, we don't agree with them either, or them, so we're just going to prescribe them as a group. So if I was to say, that's the other scary thing, if I was to go, well, no, I support them going out and taking direct action, that's me looking at 14 years inside for supporting a terrorist group. They've not really provoked terror, I would say.
I suppose it depends. It fundamentally depends on how serious you think it is that they spray a load of red paint into a British military aircraft.
I think it was stupid, if they'd not...
For some people, that's terrorism. For some people, that's protest. And, I'd be inclined to say... I think if they're prepared to do that, my worry would be, well, what's their next? Because if they do genuinely have that psychological belief that everything that they do is to stop a war crime, therefore everything's justified, then the next step might be, well, I'm going to blow that plane up.
I don't think you'll be shocked, Patrick, to know that, as far as I'm concerned, I wanted the Prime Minister to come out and say, if anyone breaks into a military base, they will be shot on sight. And if they somehow escape and evade being shot on sight, then we will... in this country, it would be either treason or it would be terrorism. I'm comfortable with either one. Obviously, one of them having a very serious consequence if they're done for that.
You've shot a few people tonight. You've shot earlier on...
Traffickers.
Shot human traffickers. You've shot people who break into military bases.
Well, they should. I mean, it's a serious breach. I mean, when we saw the fence, by the way, which is basically a garden fence, I was absolutely gobsmacked that that's the state of our defence and security, which is, I'm really glad these jets we're buying, they're going to be really safe and secure with those nuke warheads on when you can hop over with a ladder.
That's true. That's the story. It's a serious breach. Why have we not heard whose head's rolled? That's the story for me.
We haven't arrested anyone.
It doesn't matter about what the group's doing. How have they got in? Why is the security so lax? Why has there not been a statement on an investigation? There's been no suspensions, no nothing. The fact that this, would it be? It might be somebody else actually, but you need to...
Secretary of Defence, this should be number one priority.
All right, OK, right, coming up, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the reason why Emma Thompson wants you, yes, you, to have loads of sex. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you or someone you know is heading further afield over the next few days, you can expect widespread sunshine across the Mediterranean, and it's going to be breezy for Greece. The usual seasonal wind blowing through the Greek islands as a result of heat building over Turkey. The heat builds over Italy and the Balearics during the next few days. We're going to see unusually high temperatures during Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's mostly fine across Iberia and into the Canary Islands. But you can see the temperature rise in Italy there up to the mid to high 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight Late Edition. So, Dame Emma Thompson has said that sex should be recommended by the NHS. The Academy Award-winning actress explained that sex is, quote, so good for you, as she also revealed that her friends had started to hire escorts after realising how integral it was to their health and well-being. You need sex because it's part of our health plan, if you like, Dame Emma said, adding, it should really be on the NHS. It should. It's so good for you. I think she might be disappointed about who turns up to deliver the sex on the NHS. But, you know, hey, who are we to judge? Is this the same Emma Thompson that flew into an Extinction Rebellion protest first class on Brie and then flew back again? Yeah, great. Well, lovely woman. Anyway, so I'm joined now by the psychotherapist, Lucy Beresford. Lucy, thank you very much. Now, I'm going to, in a second, give my panel the opportunity to ask you about various questions about this. But does Dame Emma Thompson have a point? Should sex be on the NHS?
She has a massive point, because the problem is we don't really teach anything to do with sex in a healthy, pleasurable way. At schools, sex education is mainly about the prevention of pregnancy. It's certainly not about desire, might be now about consent, but it certainly doesn't tap into any of the incredible benefits that sex can give you. And therefore, people get into adulthood not knowing how to give themselves pleasure, give other people pleasure, and therefore they don't ever experience. There are people in their 50s and 60s who've never had an orgasm and don't know the benefits of that sexual potency.
OK, well, I'll open it up to my panel. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask?
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, is it just the sex and a loving relationship that, you know, scores all these points? But would it also work if it's just some absolutely exhausted healthcare worker who rocks up going, like, I didn't sign up for this? Nurses are hard enough to recruit already without adding this to their things they have to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, Lucy,
well, I don't know. It might actually be the benefit that sends people into the profession in droves. But seriously, actually, it doesn't even have to be with anybody. One of my main things that I like to champion is the power of masturbation. My perspective is that everybody should masturbate at least once a day. And if you do that, you get to know your body very intimately. You know what makes it work, you know what turns you on, you know what gives you pleasure, and you know how to give yourself sexual release. And that's an incredibly powerful tool, an incredibly powerful gift to really celebrate the beauty of your body and hopefully in a loving relationship, the beauty of someone else's body as well. But we're so full of shame in this country, and we're so full of taboos and sniggering behind our hand about the things that sex is really about. I worry that we're turning into a nation of prudes. And here we've got Emma Thompson, who I didn't think I would say this, but I have now fallen in love with her because I think she's championing the right thing. We need to be having more sex as a nation.
Right, Jonathan, I think you'd like
Well, I'm just keen, like, Lucy, who prescribes it? Is it my GP? Then do I go to the pharmacist? And what does my pharmacist give me? Is it a ticket to a massage parlour? Is it a ticket to a local brothel or an escort? Or does my wife have to come down and apologise, maybe? I don't know. I just find it really bizarre, like, that I'm somehow got to have the NHS prescribe sex. I mean, I've got 2 children. I feel like I'm doing my bit.
You feel like you've had sex twice, and therefore that's okay. I mean, well, I think you could be having more fun, is all I'm saying. And I think it's more about education. I think it's more about the way in which we're constantly being told that if we knew more about our lives and about, you know, the choices that we could make, then we could live more fulfilling lives. And my sense is that if we could live more fulfilling sexual lives, we would be a whole lot happier and a whole lot healthier. Sexual release is incredibly important for your immune system, as well as your connectivity in your relationships. Because if you're not having sex, frankly, you may as well just still be flatmates. And sex doesn't have to be about penetration. Sex doesn't have to be always about an orgasm. There are so many other beautiful things that you can do sexually, that actually the things that the NHS could... You talk about a prescription. I think it's more about advice. It would be more about how do you revive that flagging libido in your relationship? The kind of thing that I'm doing in my clinical work the whole time.
Well, good for you, and good for everyone that you're helping as well. Thank you very much, Lucy. Tremendous to have you on the show. It's Beresford there, who is a psychotherapist. Well, there's a lot to learn from that, isn't there? Let's give you a final roundup of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The Independent, Trump's fury at Iran. Then the Telegraph goes for British jets to carry nuclear warheads. The Daily Express, get a grip on migrant delivery rider fast. The Sun has the same front page, but off your bike about the illegal migrants working. The Daily Mail, humiliating threat to Starmer's authority. Watch out for this tomorrow. Talk of a huge backbench rebellion and maybe even a general election. The Times, UK to match China and Russia's nuclear jets. And The Guardian, Britain to buy US jets capable of carrying nuclear weapons. And one to round us off for the evening or the morning, depending on what time you're watching this. The Eye, UK buys jets with nuclear weapons. Thank you to my wonderful panel. I've thoroughly enjoyed it tonight, all of you. Tremendous to have you on the show. And I hope to see you all at home or wherever you are again tomorrow at 9 p.m. If it's in the morning for you now, get ready for breakfast. Take care. Award-winning breakfast.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Quite a grey start for many tomorrow, but overall a dry and a bright day. I think we'll see some sunny spells coming through. The likelihood, though, of some big showers later tomorrow. Back to this evening, though, and these weather fronts are dangling across the UK. This cold front is slipping southwards. To the south of it, still pretty warm and humid. Still some rain and drizzle, too, over parts of Wales and northwest England. The odd shower in western Scotland, but for most here, much of Northern Ireland, most of the night will be dry. Dry, too, across southern and eastern parts of England. That's where we'll see the higher temperatures, though, through the night. Parts of South Wales as well, also holding up at those temperatures in the mid-teens. Quite a damp start, though, for mid and South Wales tomorrow. Rain and drizzle on and off here. There will be a few showers pushing into west Scotland, but much of northeast Scotland starting dry and fine with light winds and maybe even a bit of sunshine coming through. The odd shower too for Northern Ireland, but again, most places here starting dry. There's that dull and damp weather across the west and south coasts of Wales. A little bit of light rain and drizzle possible over the Midlands also. To the south of it, mostly fine, but again, quite a cloudy old start to the day. Should get a bit brighter as the day goes on for most places. Certainly a much brighter, drier day for northwest England compared to today, and southwest Scotland too. And any showers in western Scotland tending to fade away. That rain and drizzle easing off across Wales and the Midlands. Maybe a little bit getting into northern parts of Devon and Cornwall. A warm and humid day across the southeast, with temperatures here getting into the high 20s possibly. And then that heat and humidity may spark some thundery showers, initially coming up across the southwest, but the potential for some pretty lively, pretty nasty downpours across the southeast and East Anglia. Lots of flashes of lightning along with some heavy rain, and we'll see a spell of rain working in from the west at the same time, turning things a bit fresher for many of us, with some sunny spells by Thursday afternoon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
So you weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening. Donald Trump is very upset with the Israelis we discuss. The Prime Minister pledges 5% on defence spending. Does he really mean it, or are we being gaslighted once again? Afghans being resettled into new luxury housing. Does that make sense? We'll also talk about the mass exodus of the wealthy from Britain, what the implications are and what we can do. But before all of that, let's get the news with Katie Bowen.
Nigel, thank you and good evening. The top stories at 7 o'clock. President Trump has said it was his great honour to destroy all of Iran's nuclear capability and, quote, stop the war between Israel and Iran. That's after the president confirmed the ceasefire was still in place. Earlier, the president expressed his frustration after Israel and Iran violated the ceasefire. The president had reportedly asked Benjamin Netanyahu not to attack Iran, to which the Israeli Prime Minister had reportedly said he could not cancel the attack and that some response was needed to Iran's violation of the ceasefire. A second flight evacuating Britons from Israel has left Tel Aviv, the Foreign Office has now confirmed, adding that further flights would be considered depending on demand. Speaking on Air Force One, the president said that Iran will never have nuclear weapons, and that's, quote, the last thing on the country's mind. He also added that he has spoken to President Putin about the situation in the Middle East.
I'd like to see a deal with Russia. As you know, Vladimir called me up. He said, can I help you with Iran? I said, no, I don't need help with Iran. I need help with you. And I hope we're going to be getting a deal done with Russia. It's a shame. 6,000 soldiers died last week. More, 6,500 soldiers died last week. Russia, Ukraine, a war that never would have happened if I was president.
Elsewhere, leaders from NATO are gathering in the Netherlands, with the Prime Minister and President Trump both attending. 32 member countries have all agreed to that 5% of defence spending on GDP goal, with 3.5% to go on core defence and the remaining 1.5% on defence-related areas such as resilience and security. The government's intention to increase defence spending has been branded as hollow and unfunded by Reform UK. Sir Keir Starmer said he would press forward with welfare cuts despite potential rebellion from Labour MPs. The Prime Minister has said that the vote on welfare reforms is not a confidence vote on his leadership, with the vote set to take place next week. He said that the current system isn't working for anybody and that there was a clear moral case for the changes, which include making it harder to claim personal independence payment. An amendment that could kill the welfare bill was spearheaded by senior Select Committee chairs and signed by 108 MPs. While Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch said that the Tories will lend their support to the welfare bill if 3 key changes are made, but that there were still flaws.
Quite clear that the Prime Minister has got himself into a mess. He's got a huge majority and has, hundreds of rebels. And what I said is that if he can make a commitment at the dispatch box to meet our 3 conditions, reduce the welfare budget, get people into work, and no tax rises, then we can support his bill. There are a lot of problems with this bill. It does not meet many of the things that we would expect to see if you were reforming welfare.
And Amazon says it will invest £40 billion in the UK over the next 3 years as it creates thousands of jobs and opens 4 new warehouses. The online shopping giant will build 2 huge fulfilment centres in the East Midlands, which it expects to open in 2027. 2 others in Hull and Northampton were previously announced and are set to be finished this year and next respectively, with 2,000 jobs expected at each site. 2 new buildings will also go up at its corporate headquarters in East London. Amazon is already one of the country's biggest private employers, with around 75,000 staff. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Nigel.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
This time last night, Donald Trump seemed very, very happy with things in the Middle East indeed. He put this message out on Truth Social, saying how absolutely delighted he was to announce that there'd been a ceasefire. It was happening, congratulating everyone. The Iranians have agreed. The Israelis have agreed. There's going to be a ceasefire. It's all over. And in future, in history, we'll refer to it as the 12-day war. It's all over. I thought, wow, this is very, very exciting. But it wasn't long before it was broken. The Israelis fired some rockets, saying that the Iranians had fired one first. As Donald Trump was about to leave America today to go to The Hague for a big NATO international security get-together, this was his response to the Israelis in the USA.
Not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, OK, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Now, I shouldn't laugh because it's serious stuff in the Middle East, but it's a little bit difficult not to. But it does seem to me the significance of their anger is that Israel absolutely desperately needs the support of the American president. And frankly, to have upset them is not very clever. To get a response to that, I'm joined by Brigadier General Cooper Wasser, former Director General of the Israeli Ministry of Strategic Affairs. Brigadier General, thank you for joining me on the programme. The point I'm making is that Israel doesn't have that many friends at the moment. So why did they break the ceasefire that the American president was so proudly boasting of?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And we didn't break the ceasefire. We responded to a break of the ceasefire by the Iranians after the ceasefire. About 2 hours and a half after the ceasefire, the Iranians launched a missile towards northern Israel. And there was a need to make it clear to the Iranians that this is unacceptable. And the way to send this message was to hit back. And then President Trump interfered and asked us to calm down. And because, as you said, we don't have that many friends, we have to keep this friendship and we cherish it. We decided to calm it down and we just hit a small target in near Tehran just to send a message and came back home.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that what the president was really saying is that two wrongs don't make a right. But how do you see, you know, that happened yesterday. There's been nothing since, at least that's as I understand it. What is the situation right now? Is there a genuine ceasefire for the moment or not?
Yes, I think there is a genuine ceasefire, and that's one thing that's important. But even more important is what happened before the ceasefire. What happened is that together with the Americans, we were able to put an end to the Iranian capability to produce nuclear weapons. This is great news for the security of Israel, but also for the security of the international community and for the Americans and for the British and for everybody else to know that after so many years that we were under the shadow of this threat, we put an end to this capability of the Iranians to produce nuclear weapons. And this was not easy. The Iranians have built such a huge program to build this nuclear weapon that dealing with it required quite a lot of effort. And we needed the Americans to do some of the job because some of these facilities were built deep underground.
Yeah.
So together with the Americans, we send a message to the Middle East and to the rest of the world that when we are determined to deal with this kind